Hello chaps, Pegster here. I'm sitting in my little bunker having a cup of tea, throwing together some Hell Let Loose news. We've all seen the trailer by now, which included some of the goodies we'll hopefully get to see and test in beta. Since the addition of Team 17, communication has improved tenfold. All the social media sites have been updated along with the Steam page. And on the same day as the trailer, we saw what we've all been screaming for, and yet before the introduction of Team 17, the devs, they kind of struggled to do it. A developer's briefing with a little tease of what's been happening in the world of Hell Let Loose, which was probably all we ever needed. So with developer's briefing number 1, we see a little example of the engineer class and some of the deployables available to the class, such as the barbed wire in small and large. The Hedgehog anti-tank obstacle. The Germans, of course, will they be equipped with the Belgian gate. And yes, every squaddy's little pal, a shed load of sandbags. And the eagle-eyed amongst you, well, you would have spotted the repair station which was greyed out, and that could be interesting, and will likely need some protection. There's a possibility it may be destroyable. I was hoping to see an MG nest being built, but by the looks of it, it's very similar to how the structures are deployed in Squad. The engineer, of course, will need supplies to build defences and various other items, making the supplies and logistics role very important. Of course, I'm not forgetting the troops on the front line. They're going to have the job of securing the resources, and they will also have to make sure that the various MSRs are clear of the enemy, making teamwork, communication and awareness key. Now, if this is your first time here and you like what you've seen so far, be sure to check out my other vids. Leave a comment, like it, share it and subscribe to the channel if you don't already, and thank you to those who have. However, back to work, just let me have a little sip of tea. The developer's briefing number 2, well, that brought us deployables, namely an example of the anti-tank gun and the anti-personnel mines, both of which you see examples of in the trailer. The anti-tank gun in question is a US M1 57mm. It's a variant of the British 57mm quick-firing 6-pounder, because the Americans at the time were using a smaller 37mm gun, and they learned some hard lessons and identified the need for something a little bigger. Up stepped the British 6-pounder, which was used to great effect during the battle for Outpost Snipe during the Second Battle of El Alamein, where Rommel's forces lost over 50 armoured vehicles, including a shed load of tanks. So come 1942-43, the US are given a few British 6-pounders to test. Well, they didn't like it so much. Like most things, they played about with it a little and made some subtle changes of their own. And the M1 57mm was born. However, fast forward to Overlord and D-Day. The US Airborne Forces didn't want the M1 57mm as they believed it wasn't fit for purpose and it was unsuitable for glider-borne operations due to the weight and size, favouring their older 37mm guns. However, recognising the need for larger calibre weapons, the 82nd and the 101st Airborne were equipped with British 6-pounders, which at the time had been fitted with narrower carriages, making them suitable for glider operations. They were used effectively by the US forces in support roles at Samer-Angli and Carentan. There was, however, a shortage of ammunition, namely HE, which they begged, borrowed and stealed from the friendly Brits. Now, looking at the briefing in a bit more detail, there was no mention of the German counterpart. Well, they were kind of spoiled for choice. The Pak-36, the 50mm Pak-38, the 39, the Pak-40, which was the most common, but that had a 75mm gun. So let's hope they balance it out a little and go with the 50mm Pak-38, or those poor Shermans will melt. Lastly, we look at the sneaky anti-personnel mines. The US M2 anti-personnel mine. Now in the briefing it stated they can be used by the engineers and recon in-game. It was developed with the aid of a French officer by the name of Major Pierre Deland, who escaped France and came to the US with a design for the MLE bouncing mine, which was developed by the French in response to the German S-mine, which is also in-game, aka Bouncing Betty. The Germans produced almost 2 million of these. They pop up to a height of around 3 or 5 foot. The charge goes boom, spreading out around 360 steel balls, steel rods, scrap metal, lethal within 20 metres, and inflicting casualties up to 100 metres. That's pretty damn deadly. The developer briefing mentioned the S-Mine was going to be used by anti-tank gunners and engineers, which I found a little strange considering obviously the American mine was used by, yes, engineers, but also used by the recon. So that may be either wrong or it may be subject to change. We'll have to wait and see, but hopefully we'll find out more over the next few weeks and the following developers briefings. Who knows? The beta announcement may be incoming, so keep your fingers crossed. Well peeps, that's all from me for now. Until next time, see you out there.